You're about to watch what we call an extended clip of the Young Turks, and the reality is it's somewhere in the middle. It's a little longer than our YouTube clips, but it's actually shorter than the whole 2-hour show, which you can get if you're a member. You can get it ad-free, and make sure you catch every news story we do that day. You're gonna love it as a full show. That's at tytnetwork.com/join. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Ana conspiring on a lovely Monday afternoon. It is, well, at least here in LA, lovely evening for you guys in different parts of the country. It is Martin Luther King Day, my favorite day of the year. I love Martin Luther King. He's my hero, my role model. I've got an MLK shirt on right here. Oh yeah, that's from Shop TYT. They tell me it's 30% off today. Is it just today? Well, I guess you got to panic and act today. Okay. We've also got other shirts. I asked for these shirts, even though people were like, really? Who's going to read a giant quote from Martin Luther King on your shirt? And my argument is, everyone. Okay.
Do you wear that shirt?
I do from time to time, yes. It says, we must straighten our backs and work for our freedom. A man can't ride you unless your back is bent. Okay, no bending here. I like that quote. Yes, goddamn right. I love Martin Luther King. We've got a couple of those quotes at shoptyt.com. And the thing that I'm going to say, two more things about Martin Luther King, and then we got a hell of a show for you guys today. But one is I can't get past not only what a great brain he had, but what a great heart he had. So I would argue that Martin Luther King is the best at, let alone fighting for freedom and civil rights for everyone, but the best at giving speeches that I have ever heard, ever. It's possible that in the history of humanity, some people gave a speech in Spanish or in Lithuanian that I didn't hear, and they were better than Martin Luther King. But of all the ones that I have ever read or seen, Martin Luther King is head and shoulders above everyone else. But even that is not his number one trait. And I talk about this often. He said, we don't go down to the South just to liberate African Americans from the plight that they are in. We go to liberate the white racists from the hate in their heart because it's killing them. God, that is so magnanimous. I can fathom the speeches. I cannot fathom a heart that large. And so, yeah, I know. And I gotta be honest with you, it's not what we do. From time to time we do it, but I don't, obviously I'm not that good a man. We come to kick ass and fight the aggressors, but he was better than that. And just, you cannot respect the man enough. And so hats off to him, obviously on today's show and always. But the second thing is, I also feel, as he said in one speech, sometimes I get discouraged. But there is a balm for the sin-sick soul. So we are looking for that balm, and we believe that we will find it for the country, and that our sin-sick soul, which is among its darkest hours today, with Trump in office, a deeply racist president in office in the year 2018, that we will find it, we will find that cure, and we'll bring the country back to the vision that Martin Luther King had. Okay, so having said all that, hell of a show. We've got the shithole comments, obviously. We've got 1,000 different variations of that. Trump goes after Palestinians. We will talk about that. They go back after him. And I think my favorite story today is Chelsea Manning. And I wonder if I will surprise you with my thoughts on that. Yes, and putting aside MLK Day, which always puts me in a good mood, otherwise I am in a salty mood. So anything can happen on today's show. Everybody buckle up.
Okay.
All right, okay, yes. Anna, take it away.
All right.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic, or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of On the Republic, or UNFTR, The host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFDR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
Today is MLK Day, and unfortunately, on this day, a debate rages on regarding just how racist our president is. The comments that he made in regard to El Salvador, Haiti, and African countries, calling them so-called shitholes, is something that people are still talking about, and the president has now denied that he has said it, even though Senator Durbin stands by his statements that he did in fact say what he said. And there are now other lawmakers who are coming to Trump's defense saying, no, he didn't say shithole, he said something else. Now, before we get into all the details of who said what, let's take a look at Trump's denial after a press pool reporter asked him whether or not he made these statements.
Comments the other day made it harder. Did you see what various senators in the room said about my comments? They were made. No, I'm not a racist. I am the least racist person you have ever interviewed. That I can tell you.
Because he knows every individual that reporter has ever interviewed in his lifetime. And no, you are the most racist president we've had in modern times, at least. I mean,
yeah, so who says things like, I'm the least racist person you've ever known? Usually a racist.
A stable genius says those kinds of things, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so, I mean, look, I don't want, every time this comes up, I don't want to relitigate his whole history of racism. I'll just leave it at.
I do.
Yeah, Central Park, yeah, all right.
No. I actually want to thank the New York Times for compiling the definitive list of all the racist things that Trump has said. That list is so long that I unfortunately cannot recount everything for you, but here are the doozies, okay? And I tried to keep this as short as possible, but it was quite a task. He began his 2016 presidential campaign with a speech disparaging Mexican immigrants as criminals and rapists. In December of 2015, Trump called for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States, including refusing to readmit Muslim American citizens who were outside of the country at the time. In June of 2017, Trump said 15,000 recent immigrants from Haiti, quote, all have AIDS, and that 40,000 Nigerians, once seeing the United States, would never go back to their huts in Africa. He spent years suggesting that the nation's first black president was born not in the United States but in Kenya, a lie that Trump still has not acknowledged. Trump falsely claimed that President Obama issued a statement for Kwanzaa but failed to issue one for Christmas.
Come
so,
on.
You know what? Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't call those countries shithole countries, okay? But how do you answer to the long list of terrible racist things that you've said and owned up to?
Yeah, to me, the Central Park Five is the worst of the worst. It's 5 black kids. They were accused of rape. Donald Trump took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. It turns out that they didn't do it. And years later, we find out definitively they didn't do it. They caught the real rapist with his DNA, etc. They let those guys go at that point. Donald Trump said, I don't care. I still think they should be in prison. Why? But we know for a fact that they are innocent. He doesn't care. It's 5 black kids attacked, in his mind, attacked a white woman. They must have done something. I mean, why? If there was 5 white right-wingers from Kansas who were falsely accused, and we found out later, oh my God, they didn't do it. You know what I'd say? Let them out of prison. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Let them out of prison.
What kind of monster would call for the death penalty for people who have been exonerated?
He's the worst of the worst. Anyway, I don't give him any benefit of that. He
neither do I.
Definitely said it, and we're going to prove it in a hilarious excuse in a minute. But Anna's got more.
Yes, I do have more. I just want to read you a couple more, just to refresh your memory. He frequently criticizes prominent African Americans for being unpatriotic, ungrateful, and disrespectful, and has referred to NFL players as sons of bitches.
But the ones taking a knee, which are almost all black.
Exactly. He called Puerto Ricans who criticize his administration's response to Hurricane Maria, by the way, Puerto Ricans who are in fact American citizens, he called them politically motivated ingrates.
Ingrates, that's really classy.
He has called some of the white nationalists in Charlottesville, Virginia, very fine people. Trump pardoned Joe Arpaio, the Arizona sheriff sanctioned for racially profiling Latinos and for keeping immigrants in brutal prison conditions. In November of 2017, during a meeting with Navajo veterans of World War II, Trump mocked Senator Elizabeth Warren as Pocahontas. Also, don't forget that Trump's real estate company tried to avoid renting apartments to African Americans in the 1970s and gave preferential treatment to whites, and that's according to the federal government. So I was being incredibly sarcastic when I said that I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. The point that I'm trying to make is that his comments about El Salvador and Haiti and African countries were not that shocking to me. Because for me, this is par for the course when it comes to Donald Trump. This is not surprising. This is to be expected. This will not be the last time he says something terrible and racist. And it not only has ramifications in regard to race relations in the U.S., it has ramifications internationally, okay? He is not going to be an effective leader if he's a piece of shit like this. And it's unfortunate that we get involved in these debates regarding whether or not he's racist when the proof is right here in front of us, not from one instance or two instances, but from several throughout decades.
Okay, and I don't want people to misunderstand it because I think the Democrats often do a bad job here and they try to separate Trump from the rest of the Republicans. Like, oh, the rest of the Republicans are okay. No, they're not. So right now you got Senator Perdue and Cotton lying for Donald Trump. By the way, later he'll throw them under the bus and admit that he said it, and then they'll be stuck holding the bag, okay? But they're saying they don't recall whether he said it. It's not like it happened 20 years ago. It happened a couple of days ago. What's there to recall or not recall? That's the poorest excuse I've ever heard.
Senator Lindsey Graham, who was also there and who also heard it and also confirmed that he, referred to those countries as shitholes, reiterated today that his memory has not evolved and that he heard what he heard.
Okay, yeah, I love the people whose memories evolve in the span of a couple of days. So that is a Republican senator saying, yes, Dick Durbin is right, he said it. That's 2 senators, bipartisan. He clearly said it. Of course he said it. It's in keeping with everything that he's ever done. But I'm going to go further. Look, that Kwanzaa comment. So it's a lie. First of all, if you believe Donald Trump on anything, you're an idiot. All he does is lie. So he says the first black president we ever had celebrated Kwanzaa, but refused to celebrate Christmas officially. Now, why would you make up a lie like that? Because you're a goddamn racist, okay? So look, I think the word racist is charged. I get it. And people are like, it's a heavy charge. Let's put it that way, okay? So you shouldn't make it lightly. We are not making it lightly. He has an entire lifetime of discriminating against African Americans and saying abhorrent things about blacks, Latinos, and on and on and on. And if you can't see that, man, you don't want to see it. And I wonder why you don't want to see it. It's because it's glaringly obvious. So
I think everyone, including those that continuously defend him, know that he said it. And they might publicly deny it, but internally they know he said it. And those who are defending him kind of love that he said it. And then there are those who don't even deny that he says it and make excuses or defend that kind of statement. Well, he's just calling it like it is. I mean, that's what you heard over and over again during the election. He's just calling it like it is. You think that it's a good idea to go after allies of ours and refer to their countries as shitholes?
You think he's not a blogger. He's not some random alt-right dude on Twitter. He's the president of the United States. You think it makes sense for the president to refer to a whole continent as shithole and then turn around and go, what do you mean? I just called all of Africa a shithole. Why would that be perceived as racist? I can't quite tell. Did you make a distinction between the Nigerian economy and the economy of Botswana? Come on. He couldn't name Botswana if his life depended on it. Okay, no, he's like, Africa, shithole. Whoa, how could that be racist? Listen, if you're defending him on that, I get it, dude, I get it. You don't like him despite the fact that he's a racist. You like him because he's a racist. For you, that's not the bug, that's the feature. Just say it, own up to it. Why won't you just come out and be honest? I thought you guys were so brave. All those alpha males in the right wing. What are you cowering in the bushes for? Just pop out and declare what you are. Say, yeah, I don't like blacks and Latinos. I think they're inferior, right? Just say it, and then we'll be done with it. It's so obvious that that's why you like Trump. What else has he accomplished? Tax cuts for the rich, that's why you're rooting for him? Why, are you a millionaire or a billionaire? No, you like that he's racist.
So there were some comments from those on the right, essentially confirming what he had said and also criticizing him. So I do want to give them some credit for that. Eric Erickson, who by no means is a liberal, said the following on Twitter. Let's go to graphic 12. It's weird that people in the room don't remember Trump using that word when Trump himself was calling friends to brag about it afterwards. I spoke to one of those friends. The president thought it would play well with the base. Going to what you were saying, Cenk, how it's not the bug, it's the feature for some. And then also the Associated Press had reported, citing a person who spoke with the president, the AP reported that Trump doubled down on his reported comments from this week, defending the remark as not racist, but, quote, straightforward assessment of the living conditions in the countries discussed.
Okay, so Senator Scott and Perdue, you stepped in it by trying to defend him by claiming you don't recall what happened at that time, hours ago, right? And now furiously continuing to defend Donald Trump. You don't get it. He's going to admit it at some point. That's what he always does. He goes, no, I didn't necessarily say that. And later he goes, yes, so what? I did say it. But in the meanwhile, you lied for him like an idiot. And now he's going around telling friends, yeah, of course I said it. Oh, so smart, wasn't it? So smart. I got all my racist base to like me again. Because Ann Coulter had yelled at him and Tucker Carlson had yelled at him and saying, what are you doing helping immigrants with the DREAM Act? We don't want to help those kids who are really successful in America. We want to crush their dreams and hopes and send them back to countries they never lived in. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's right. My base is a piece of shit. They're deplorables. They're the worst people on earth. So I'll be like them. I'll call these countries shitholes. And then I'll brag about it to my friends. And now that's leaked. And we know he said it. Now, you want to know the funniest excuse of all? Now, allies in the White House are saying, no, he didn't say shithole. He said shit house. That's your excuse?
Oh, that makes That makes it better.
Okay, all right. I'm pretty sure, unfortunately, he's turned the White House into a shit house. We got to get him out, clean that place out completely, okay? You want to talk about, they talked about how Bill Clinton disgraced the office. This guy's an absolute monumental disgrace to all of us as Americans. You got to get him out and then just send in the cleaners to wipe that place. It's become filthy now with the racists that are in there that are defiling the idea of America, our flag, and what we stand for as American citizens.
I do want to toss to Mia Love, Representative Mia Love, who is a Republican. She appeared on CNN and was asked about whether or not she thought Trump's statements were racist. Let's hear from her.
Were the comments racist, do you think?
Well, I think they were, yes. I think that they were unfortunate. I don't know if they were taken. I wasn't in the room. I know the comments were made. I don't know which context they were made. Jake, I can't defend the indefensible. You have to understand that there are countries that do struggle out there. But they're people. Their people are good people, and they're part of us. We're Americans. It was really difficult to hear, especially because my parents were such big supporters of the president. And I think that we have to do everything we can to make sure that we are coming from a place of compassion and we're speaking from a place of kindness. I mean, that is the at least minimal standard here. I think that one of the things we need to do is get people like me in the room. There are so many people frankly, I want to just make sure that everyone knows that I don't know if those comments would have been made if I were actually in the room. There's so many people that really care about this issue. Will Hurd, Carlos Curbelo, people on both sides of the aisle that should have been in that room talking about DACA. So that's the first thing. We have to make sure that we have the right people in the room talking about these issues. There's a lot of healing. There's a lot of, I still think that he should apologize. I think that there are people that are looking for an apology, and I think that would show real leadership.
Okay, so
Mia Love, by the way, just to really emphasize this, is the first Haitian American elected into office in Congress.
And she just as important for the context of this story, she's a conservative Republican. So now I'm going to say to Mia Love and Tim Scott what Ben Mankiewicz told me a long time ago and turned out to be right. You're in the wrong room, and we told you. So Mia Love came in and said, oh, no, Republicans love black people, and that's why I'm proud to be a Republican, and she got elected in Utah. And oops, yeah, it turns out, no, look, you can't say it's not just Republicans, that it's just Donald Trump. Republican voters had 17 choices in that primary. And it's not like they didn't know what Trump was about. Trump was very clear. He called Mexican immigrants rapists and criminals.
And he started surging in the polls right after that.
That was not the bug, that was the feature. He attacked all Muslims, including Muslim American citizens. But Mia, you're not Muslim, so you didn't give a crap. You're not Mexican, so you didn't give a crap. And you wanted the tax cuts for the rich, and you wanted to please your donors and whatever other thoughts that you had. And so you thought, it's okay, they won't come for me. I mean, they'll only come for the trade unionists, and they'll come for other people, but they won't come for me. Guess what happened, Mia? They came for you. It turns out you're Haitian, and your parents are Haitian. Now all of a sudden you find out that Republicans like Donald Trump, who is your leader, not my leader, your leader, okay? He's the leader of your party, and all those other Republican senators in the room defending him, they don't like you either, Mia. Color me surprised. Tim Scott, only African-American Republican senator, talks to Lindsey Graham, and another senator, another Republican from his own state of South Carolina, says, did he say it? Lindsey Graham says, yeah, he said it. And so Tim Scott is aggrieved. Tim, you thought the Republicans weren't racist. Is that what you thought? Okay, I'm waiting for Tim Scott, Mia Love, and all those others to apologize to us and say, oh, I guess they were. Oops. All those times they want to take civil rights away from African Americans. They want to take voting rights away from African Americans. They pretended Obama was giving out Obama phones to only African Americans. They said that African Americans are bums and taking welfare, and you helped them. Mia Love and Tim Scott, you helped them with that ideology. And then you turn around and go, oh, he's coming after me. It turns out he's racist. Yeah. No shithole, Sherlock.
So, I mean, look, Trump definitely had some pretty terrible comments in regard to African Americans and blacks in the United States during the election as well. And so it's not like, Mia Love didn't experience some of his statements regarding, black communities throughout the country. She heard it. We all heard it. And he's an equal opportunity discriminator. Like he has gone after Koreans. He has gone after every group of people you could possibly imagine other than whites. Except whites, because they're good people. Even if they're white nationalists who run people over and murder them, there are good people on that side as well, according to Donald Trump. But what's interesting to me is that Trump has provided an interesting case study for the Republican Party, because before Trump, remember what they were trying to do? They were trying to rid themselves of that identity, of that discriminatory, hateful identity. They wanted to reach out to the Latino voters because they've always, had issues getting them to vote along with the party. They tried to convince people that, they didn't hate the black community. They wanted to, create better opportunities for them. Trump comes in, he says all these crazy things, right? These terrible racist things. And it's interesting to see who falls in line with Trump, who basically says, yeah, forget about that agenda where we try to lie to people about who we really are. We're going to go ahead and side with Trump anyway. Some Republicans aren't buying it, but A lot of them are, and it's really interesting.
One last thing about Mia Love. So now she's getting a lot of love in the mainstream media because they love to give Republicans credit. They love it, right? It's Mia Love. He called out Donald Trump and, saying that he's racist and she can't defend the indefensible. But let's pause for one more second here. Put aside all the other groups. Put aside Muslims. Nobody in mainstream media likes Muslims anyway. When he said during the campaign, we should ban Muslim American citizens from coming back into the country, people were like, oh, wow, that's a little controversial. I mean, if he said, don't let the Jews back into the country, okay, everybody would have rightfully been furious, right? All this, but Muslims spit on them, move on, it's not that big a deal. Fine, okay, let's just talk about one group, Mexicans. So he said they're criminals and rapists coming into this country. Mia, where were you? Oh, when it's about you, all of a sudden you realize that the president is racist. But when he was going after Mexicans and saying those terrible things about them, where were you, Mia? Where were you? I didn't see you on CNN. I didn't see you jumping out going, wait a minute. Our leader of the Republican Party cannot say these things about Mexicans. I didn't see you defending them. I didn't see you defending anyone else. Now that it's your parents, oh my God, it turns out he's coming after me too. Well, I didn't bargain for that. Well, I hope you got rich off of this, and I hope you got powerful off of this, and I hope you got whatever you aim to get out of it. But you get no credit because you never defended anyone else. So spare me the crocodile tears now that you find out Trump and Republican voters are also not in favor of you.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we will talk about DACA and actual immigration policy.
Thanks for listening to this podcast. You're only halfway through, so hold, stay right here. Just want to remind you, if you want to get all 5 segments of the Young Turks commercial free, these are just 2 of them. Every day we do it. So go to tytnetwork.com/join and you get the whole 5 segments, 2 hours, ad free. Do it now. All right, back on the Young Turks. Look, we got a great Rebel headquarters coming up for you guys in about 30 minutes. Also on the show today is Erica Andiola. She is the political director of Our Revolution, and she's actually fighting for a Clean Dream Act. We were talking about the Dream Act earlier in the show, and she's going to tell you how you could participate and how she's leading that fight for the Clean Dream Act. So that's going to be great. That's at 8:05 p.m. Eastern right here. Santos Juante writes in, you would think with all these Republicans not running or retiring from office, Dems would smell the blood in the water. But they do, but their sense of that is, great, we're doing everything right, just steady as we go, right? Lipschitz writes in, can TYT stick a microphone in some of the Dems' faces and ask them why they aren't fighting harder?
Yeah.
We're trying. One of the Democrats we did that to was Al Franken, and he ran, right? And he kept waiting. He kept his powder dry. Now he just took his dry powder home. So look, whatever you think of how he resigned, that's a different issue. But for the time that he was in office, it would have been nice if he was a giant fighter for us.
There are 2 phrases that get used a lot in politics. One of them is keeping his powder dry. I don't know where it comes from, but it's weird and it makes me uncomfortable. The second one is full-throated defense.
Yes, that is definitely awkward.
Just don't like those phrases, but they get used all the time.
Well, in the postgame, maybe I'll explain the powder dry one. And you know what? So there's a story, I don't know if we're going to get to it, about Mandalay Bay, the shooting in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I just stayed at Mandalay Bay in Vegas, and I have a really interesting thing to tell you about the shooting based on what I observed there. So, yeah, we'll do that in the postgame today. That's for the members. tytnetwork.com/join. to become a member, okay? One last tweet for you guys. Jeff Horton says, stock market up, number of immigrants coming to the U.S. down, Trump not impeached yet, conservatives are happier than pigs in shit, or in a shithole. So yes, those are all true. But don't get discouraged because
there is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul.
God standeth behind the demonon, watching above his own. All right, what's next?
Okay. A new report indicates that Congress members spent a whopping $300,000 to settle sexual harassment allegations and discrimination accusations against them since 2003. Now, this is a new report that was put out by the Committee on House Administration, and here is what they found. No names were mentioned, unfortunately, but nearly $300,000 in taxpayer funds has been spent to settle 13 claims against members of Congress or their offices since 2003 that include sexual harassment or sex discrimination. These accusations include 3 cases involving sex discrimination that total more than $27,000. Also, between 2008 and 2012, the Treasury Fund paid more than $174,000 to settle 8 cases. Between 2013 and 2017, 2 cases involving sex discrimination or harassment were settled, totaling $91,000. Now, the majority of the $91,000 was paid out because of accusations lodged against Farenthold, which we covered earlier on the Young Turks. One of these settlements was for $84,000. That was the Blake Farenthold accusation from 2014. A woman who was his former communications director accused him of sexual harassment.
Farenthold had said at the time, "Oh, it's okay, I'm going to pay that $84,000. Well, number one, only after you got caught. Before, you were perfectly happy to let taxpayers pay for it, while you pretended to be a champion of saving taxpayer money as a Republican. And that was his big thing. I save taxpayers' money. I mean, unless I sexually harass someone, in which case you pay for it. Then he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar and he said, no, I'm going to pay for it. I think it was JR, our producer, JR Jackson, who said, no, he won't. Yeah. And now we find out, no, not exactly.
He's waiting to see what the outcome of this investigation will be and how Congress will move forward in, having something put forward, like the right, I don't even know how you call it, like the right way to approach these issues, as opposed to having people sign non-disclosure agreements, using taxpayer money to settle these settlements. Can you imagine? I mean, look, Republican representatives, Republican members of Congress lose their minds over the SNAP program, which gives the poorest people in this country, the poorest families in this country, scraps so they can feed their kids, right? They lose their minds over that. But Representative Farenthold used $84,000 in taxpayer money to settle a sexual harassment case involving his own communications person. Like, can you imagine if one poor family got a one-time lump sum payment of $84,000 in taxpayer money? That would be the scandal of a lifetime in America. They would not stop talking about it. This is absolutely ridiculous. You got accused of sexual harassment, you pay for it. Why are you using taxpayer money to do it?
So there's 2 different things here, guys. So are settlements, do settlements sometimes happen? Yes, okay. And if you're a congressman, some of the settlements are as low as $7,000. You might pay that just so that you don't have bad PR. Right or wrong, it might affect your race, and you might say, I didn't do it, but it's $7,000, and I can't withstand that kind of damage, right? And by the way, are all the cases true? Nobody knows because they're secret, right? And due process matters, right? So, having said all that, why are we paying for their settlements?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, you want to do settlements? I hear you, brother. You want to do non-disparagement? I know that that's not in vogue, but I think that there is validity to that. I think it makes sense in some instances. But why are we paying for it? Especially if you're Farenthold and you talked about the bums on welfare, and you talked about this and you talked about that, and how you're going to lower the deficit. And then you gave $1.5 trillion to the rich in your tax cuts just a second ago. So your donors are thrilled. You're thrilled because you're also rich. But he's one of the richest members of Congress. But for a sexual harassment settlement, he's like, oh, no, I'm not paying for it. Taxpayers, you guys are the suckers. We're the ones who tricked you so that I can get in here and get myself a giant tax cut. You pay for my sexual harassment settlement.
I'm just tired of the way the discourse in the country goes when it comes to using our taxpayer money to benefit us, right? Anytime that money is used to benefit us, whether it's in helping those who are poor, with food stamps, or, making sure that the entitlements that we paid into are going to be something that we can take advantage of, like Medicare and Social Security when we're ready to retire. Those are all controversial issues that are always being debated, right? We paid into it. It's money that we pay the federal government to ensure that we're taken care of. But that taxpayer money goes toward wars that we shouldn't be starting, right? Preemptive war. It goes toward nonsense like this, where we're paying settlements for lawmakers. I don't care if they're Democrats or Republicans. Taxpayer money should not be spent on settling their issues, okay? Whenever it comes to helping out those who are privileged, we never have the debate.
So preach it, teach it. I couldn't agree more. One last thing on it. It's even worse than that, because when, for example, Bernie Sanders says, let's do college for all. So that's the American dream, that your kids can have the same chance as rich parents' kids, right? And you go, they don't even debate it. They just snicker. They're like, that's totally unrealistic.
That's exactly what happened during the Democratic primaries. That's exactly what happened.
And all the Anderson Coopers, they all snickered. Trump now calls CNN liberal. Go back and watch those debates. They laughed at Bernie Sanders. You want to help the middle class's kids? That's not realistic. Now, the Iraq war, nobody snickered, and we spent trillions. We threw trillions of dollars. We burned it, and all those people died. And now these sexual harassment settlements, that's okay. That helps the powerful and the elite. Nobody snickers. But you want to help middle class live their American dream. So we can't stand your priorities. And yet the people on TV and the people in Washington can't figure out why people in the country are angry. Like all the millionaires we know are super happy. Yeah, we know.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
All right, moving on to other news. Actress Eliza Dushku has disclosed a pretty terrible thing that happened to her when she was only 12 years old and on the set of True Lies, a movie that she starred in. This is a story that she has kept to herself and to a couple close loved ones for a long time. But recently she felt comfortable enough to come forward and share her account regarding sexual assault by Joel Kramer, who was the stunt person on the movie set. So I'm going to read portions of what she had posted on her Facebook page. It was a very long post, but these are the relevant portions of what she said. When I was 12 years old, while filming True Lies, I was sexually molested by Joel Kramer, one of Hollywood's leading stunt coordinators. He disappeared. Now, she says that he had earned the trust of her parents and then convinced the parents that, you know, he was going to take her out to sushi and just have fun, nothing crazy. And
that other people would be around and she'd be going swimming with the other stunt actors in the movie, et cetera.
And so the parents trusted him, and he did the exact opposite of that. He took her to his home. And then this is what she says happened. He disappeared in the bathroom and emerged naked, bearing nothing but a small hand towel held flimsy at his midsection. I remember how he laid me down on the bed, wrapped me with his gigantic, withering body, and rubbed all over me. He spoke these words, "You're not going to sleep on me now, sweetie. Stop pretending you're sleeping," as he rubbed harder and faster against my catatonic body. She also writes, when he was finished, he suggested, "I think we should be careful about telling anyone." He meant I was 12 and he was 36. And I remember how soon after, when my tough adult female friend in whom I had confided my terrible secret on the condition of a trade that she let me drive her car around the Hollywood Hills, came out to the set to visit and face him. Later that very same day, by no small coincidence, I was injured from a stunt gone wrong at the Harrier set with broken ribs. I spent the evening in the hospital. So she's alleging that since she told her close friend about what happened, he retaliated by allowing her to get injured on the set while performing stunts. Now, he denies it. I'll give you his statement in just a minute, but this is disgusting.
Yeah, so he says, oh no, she was just bruised in that incident. So all of this is important. And boy, if after someone who tried to protect her yelled at him, he then allowed her to get injured. It doesn't matter if it's bruises or a broken rib. And that is horrific, but it doesn't really matter. Like, that portion is extra, right? Mm-hmm. He molested a 12-year-old girl, if you believe this story. And we're done, right? That's not close. Now, look, if these were criminal charges, and I don't know if statute of limitations is run on it or not, we do due process in this country, okay? And he vehemently denies it. Mm-hmm. But boy, this sounds enormously credible. And there is backup after backup. So let's give you the denial and then the backup to her story.
So Joel Kramer did end up getting fired by World Production Agency. Also, he says these are outlandish, manipulated lies. I never sexually molested her. I think she's making this up in her imagination. Now, if you read her entire account on Facebook, which I highly recommend you do, it's incredibly detailed, and she talks about a number of people that she did confide in at the time that it happened. Now, the one person that she specifically mentioned in that statement was Sue Booth-Forbes, who was her guardian on set. Since she was a minor, she has to have a guardian on set, and that's exactly who she was. And Dushku did confide in her at the time, told her what happened. She was the person who came forward and told people on the set, those who had some authority, about what had occurred. And as a result, no one did anything. And it led to Joel Kramer allegedly retaliating against Dushku on the set. Now, Sue Booth-Forbes did corroborate this account, but did not name the specific people that she told.
So let me give more background too. So Kramer, I read his statement. It just denies it 100%. Lies, lies, lies. I can't believe this. I'm being persecuted, etc. Now, I think there are some people who are being persecuted in the news these days. I don't think Kramer is one of them. That's my opinion. But we gave you his statement, and now you turn to Sue Booth-Forbes, and she is awfully specific. She said she went to higher ups. Mm-hmm. They complained about it. Other people knew about it. They also complained about it. But the higher ups, and why? Why are they protecting this stunt coordinator? Well, it turns out he worked on all the Schwarzenegger movies. Now, that doesn't mean that Schwarzenegger knew about the allegations. James Cameron, who was the director of True Lies, says he didn't know, that if he had not known, there would have been no mercy, okay? And he believes Dushku, and he's very adamant about that, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know, nobody knows who actually knew on that set and didn't know on that set. Maybe actually Sue Booth-Forbes might know, but she didn't name those names, and I don't want to get into that. But she says, no, we definitely told people, he definitely did it. And she said, here's another quote, Joel Kramer did what Eliza said he did. This is again from Sue Booth-Forbes. He is a pedophile, and he must face the consequences. So there's the actress friend she told, her mom, Sue Booth-Forbes, and according to Forbes, other people on the set.
Her older brother as well.
And that was all not recently, but 25 years ago, okay? And the accident that she had on the set, the day that they confronted Kramer, is in the records. She was taken to the hospital. There's no question about that. Now, nobody knows, other than those two, what happened in that hotel room, but why would a 12-year-old girl come out and take on this powerful person who's good friends with the main star on the set? out of nowhere and insist on it.
Yeah.
And then, but by the way, never publicly came forward. It's not like she had an axe to grind. It's not like she had an agenda. Anyway, we're over discussing this. This seems like an incredibly clear case.
Also, she just came out with her allegations, and I just want to really emphasize the fact that it's taken her such a long time to do it, because when she initially did come out, she did come out to family members, and they didn't know how to handle it because it was such a taboo topic at the time. So think about how far we've come in all this time, since she was 12, but also how there's still a way to go, because even though this Me Too movement has been going on for a couple months now, she still didn't feel comfortable coming forward until very recently. And it's a scary thing to do. It's scary to come forward and talk about what you've gone through, especially when you initially told people it got brushed under the rug. There was one part of her statement where she talked about how after the apartment thing, they were both in a cab together and he had her sit on his lap, and that the cab driver was looking at her like they were making eye contact the entire time because she was scared. The cab driver knew something was wrong, but no one came to her, to her defense. No one came to help her. It's just crazy.
And think about the retaliation. I mean, the accident happens the day that they make it public, at least on the set. And she's 12 years old. You think that they might have been able to ruin her career? Of course. It took a quarter of a century to gather up the courage. Now imagine how many times that happened to children like her and to women, and by the way, to guys from people like Kevin Spacey. So this has been an enormous problem for a long period of time. And so in this case, the liberation continues.
We got to take a break. Let's come back and we'll have some more news for you.
Thanks for watching what I hope was a lovely edition of the Young Turks. Now, you know that is 2 of the 5 segments that we do because that's free. We want to have you support independent media and come watch the whole show that we do every day. That's 5 segments overall, no ads at all. That's at tytnetwork.com/join. Come become a member. Thanks for watching either way. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Ana, and I'll see you soon.